It's all quiet in the underground bunker. Doors closed, locks bolted. But the Great One isn't just resting on his laurels. He's making sure your weekend is even better by giving you his best. This is the best of Mark Levin.
Well, the transformation has begun. It's as if Joe Biden doesn't exist anymore. Poof. Oh, he'll make an appearance from time to time. But he doesn't matter. Even though he's the sitting president of the United States for the next 5 months, even though we haven't seen him for like 3 days, all we got was a letter telling us he's not running, and not why, of course, but we know why, but they don't say why. This fan dance goes on. If the president has dementia, he should be removed under the 25th Amendment. We have a vice president who helped cover up his dementia. The Democrat Party and their media are pushing her to be the nominee. All the Democrat billionaires are stepping in now, same ones who pushed Biden. So the corrupt Democrat Party, the corrupt media, who've made a mockery of our electoral system, who stole the election from 14, 15 million Democrat Party voters, now they're at it again. This is phase 2. Now, phase 2 is to get Kamala Harris nominated, even though she's never won a single primary ever. Even though she's never won a single delegate as a presidential candidate ever. To install her as the Democrat Party nominee for President of the United States. But even more, the media had kicked in their phase 2. Their phase 2. I've been very carefully monitoring this and taking note of this. If you go on my social media sites, you will see I'm listing them. So we're getting stories now like Kamala Harris is a fundraising phenom, a juggernaut. What about Kamala Harris's Jewish husband? Well, you wouldn't even know he's Jewish. Kamala Harris is siding with the Islamists in her party. She even praised the Islamists in the street. You remember them, the river to the sea, Hitler Youth, but not the extremists, of course. And she will not be attending Netanyahu's speech. She will not be meeting with Netanyahu, and neither Biden nor Kamala Harris nor the Secretary of State Blinken were at the airport a few minutes ago to meet the head of state of the only Jewish state, Benjamin Netanyahu, as they have made an effort to dehumanize that man. And none of them will be present for his speech. Kamala Harris is desperate to get the anti-Semite vote out of Michigan, and she hopes in other states. And I am very much hoping that President Trump will meet with Netanyahu and see this as an opportunity. As an opportunity for, God forbid, for the country and for Jewish people in this country and overseas, if Kamala Harris is president of the United States. But the media want you to know that her husband might actually be the first Jewish first person, I guess they would call it. And as you well know, he's made a big deal of that. Not. They've told us that Kamala Harris is prepared to run against Trump. She, the tough prosecutor. He, the convicted felon. There was a piece by USA Today. Only 3% of the GOP convention was black, which caused me to respond. There are 3 black Democrat senators, and a party that relies on the black community for its very existence, for electoral victories. That really sucks. 3 black senators, one from California, whose name nobody even knows outside of California, one from Georgia, and one from New Jersey. That's it. We're now told the Trump campaign is scrambling. They don't know what to do. They're second-guessing the pick of J.D. Vance. Now what do we do? Now they tell us that it's Trump's age and acuity that are the issue. That the script has been flipped, not Biden. And then they bring out people like Chris Christie. Oh, she's going to be tough. She's going to be very tough. All this in the last 24 hours, but more. Biden's one of the greatest presidents in American history. What? Oh, yes. Put aside all the rest. One news. These are all news articles. Put aside all the rest. Push that aside. This man's agenda, his achievements are second to none. They're historic. They're unparalleled. Forget about the gaffes. What Joe Biden did was an immense act of unparalleled patriotism. Excuse me? He was forced out. No, you don't understand. Patriotism. Like we've never seen before. Patriotism. So it begins. It was always going to begin. As I told you here and elsewhere, these people, they never give up. Once a slime ball, always a slime ball. They never give up. And they will continue to do what they always do. They just did something that's never been done in American history. They stole an election from their own voters. I want to remind you, and I said this on Fox last night, this is very, very important. If that debate had taken place after the Democrat convention, because typically the first debate is in September, the conventions are in July and August, Joe Biden would be the nominee of the Democrat Party. All the lies, all the cover-up, it would have been too late to change him for another. But the fact is, Joe Biden has an excuse for his mumbling. He has an excuse for his inability to complete sentences. He has an excuse for his awkwardness. He has dementia. What's Kamala Harris's excuse? She doesn't have dementia, and yet she has the same issues. We're told she's going to appeal to young people. She hasn't appealed to young people yet. We're told she's going to appeal to black voters. She hasn't appealed to black voters. 2016, she didn't even run in a primary. Iowa, New Hampshire, she didn't even wait for the third state. South Carolina, over 50% of the voters in the Democrat Party in South Carolina are black, but she couldn't get there. She had a lot of money. The media don't remind us of this today. She had a lot of money, a ton of money. She had thousands of people show up. Thousands, when she announced her candidacy for president in 2016. And it fizzled out. But now they want to make sure that such a thing doesn't happen. But it's already begun in 24 hours. Rewriting Joe Biden's legacy, rewriting Kamala Harris's resume. And then attacking Donald Trump, undermining Donald Trump, questioning Donald Trump, his pick, and all the rest of it.
Mark Levin.
Making your weekend even better. This is the best of Mark Levin.
Kamala Harris will have to pick a vice president, you see. Now, I want to tap the brakes just a touch. She's not the nominee yet. I know they're trying to force this down everybody's throat because this is what they do. They don't want a primary. They don't want a mini primary, of which there's no such thing. In other words, they don't want a dispute. They don't want a challenge. They don't want any other candidates. They don't want any other votes. When it comes to Chicago, nothing. And this is how you get in trouble. This is what happens. Biden changed the primary system. The Democrat Party did. The media also, quite frankly, so that he couldn't get a challenge. They pushed Robert Kennedy out of the Democrat Party and everybody else. They threw Iowa and New Hampshire under the bus. They put South Carolina first because that's Joe Biden's favorite state. That's what they did. No effective challenge to him. Now, Donald Trump had many challenges to him, and he beat them. Not so with Joe Biden. And yet, why shouldn't he have had? Guy had dementia. The guy couldn't engage with the public. He couldn't give a speech. He wasn't available to the press. Easy pickings, right? But the machinery kicked in, just like the Communist Party of China, or the Communist Party of the old Soviet Union, or the Communist Party in Cuba, or the Communist Party in Venezuela, or the Communist Party in North Korea, or these other fascistic Islamo-Nazi parties and so forth all over the world. I'm going to have competition? What are you, nuts? That's why on Fox last night I played the clip of the former president of Communist China, the General Secretary of the Communist Party, how Xi had him removed unceremoniously in front of the quote-unquote delegates, never to be seen again. That's what this reminds me of. Joe Biden's in hiding. He's got COVID. I had COVID, Mr. Producer. I was behind the microphone. You can still talk. You can still be seen. You don't have to meet with people. I have a feeling Joe Biden is furious. I have a feeling Joe Biden actually regrets what he did. I have a feeling that the pressure became insurmountable. I mean, you got to have a big back to be stabbed in the back as many times as Joe Biden was, from his media friends, from his friends in Congress, from his donor friends. I mean, he felt he was going to get it. Big deal. He campaigned from his basement last time, but then his ego got the better of him, and he decided, I'll show them I can kick Trump's butt debating him. And then the media saw, well, look, we've done everything we can to cover up for this dummy, and now he's exposed himself to the 30 or 40 million people who don't pay attention, and he's got to go. We got to broom him out of there. Immediately. Even before the debate was 10 minutes long, it started. Led by the New York Slimes and their ilk. The New York Slimes, which has never met an autocrat it hasn't liked. Throughout the world, I might add. And that same corrupt ruling class in the Democrat Party and their media, well, now it's Kamala's turn. They don't want you to know how stupid she is. They don't want you to know what a buffoon she is. They don't want you to know what Willie Brown told us in an op-ed before she was selected for vice president. A very negative op-ed, and he made her career, among other things. They want you to read that stuff. The media don't exist to inform, to challenge, to expose. They exist to promote, to celebrate, to indoctrinate. And that's where we are. And I'll give you a few examples right now. Here is, get to the right page of my clip, Margaret Brennan, a disaster. She now does Deface the Nation, and she does it very poorly. She's a hack. And here she is yesterday. Cut 17, Mr. Producer, go.
My sources agree with yours in terms of not seeing a head-to-head challenger, but the question then becomes who is the person who stands beside her August 19th at that Democratic convention.
So that's it. Her source, or sources, 3 people, told her there's going to be no challenger. So that is now part of the push, the propaganda, the effort by the Democrat Party, Al Jazeera, Pravda Media, the state-run media. This is what they're doing now. No challenger. Got that? No challenger. We can't expose her for who she is and what she says. No. No challenger. Everybody unite around Kamala. My sources tell me there will be no challenger. What? Your sources? What sources? 3 people? 6 people? 1 person? Your husband? What? But now, we're beyond that. It's a fait accompli. She's going to be coronated. Just like Joe was. Now, who will she stand with? That's the issue now. So we've skipped another couple of levels, see. This stuff called democracy, very dirty, primary process, who needs it? We got this figured out. We have a marijuana smoke-filled room. We're all set. Go ahead.
To seek the nomination in that vice president role. That's where the focus is.
That's where the focus is. She's it. Okay? Period. She's it. Now that's where the focus is. Now Pelosi said she's all in. Pelosi's such a slimeball. My God. Supported Biden almost up to the end, then turned on him like a dog. Then Kamala Harris comes in, holds back. Now she's all in. She's the power behind the throne. I even hear my friend said, no, she's not. She's not a power behind anything. She's an old lady, 84 years old. Her face is dripping. It's melting in front of us because of her multiple facelifts. She can barely keep her false teeth in her face. She can't complete sentences. She can't complete thoughts. She's shuffling along. Oh, that's the power behind the throne. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I was told looking to challenge her would be committing political suicide to try to go head-to-head after Joe Biden.
And who told you that? Her sources told you, political heads. Go ahead. If she doesn't have a hold on now. If she doesn't have a challenger, it's not because it would be political suicide. It's because it would be a mess. To jump into this, it's a no-win. What they won't tell you is the Republican Party is more unified than any time since Ronald Reagan. What they won't tell you is the Republican Party is flush with money. What they won't tell you is that Donald Trump has a pretty damn good agenda. And what they won't tell you is that the Trump supporters are fired up. Now, don't take anything for granted. We talk about that, and we'll continue to talk about it, but that's not for this moment. So it's political suicide. No, it's a mess. Why would you jump into the middle of this? You wouldn't. If you're a strong governor, a strong senator, you wouldn't. Go ahead.
And making it very clear, just within minutes of announcing he was not going to seek re-election, that he was endorsing her. That's what we're looking at now.
So Biden is endorsing Kamala Harris. Now Biden, who they were just, raking over the coals, throwing under the bus, throwing off the roof, calling him unpatriotic, going on and on and on. Now he's a saint. He was a devil. He's a saint. Oh, yes, I can see the special light behind Biden. No, actually, I can't because we can't see Biden. But you get the point. My God. He's so selfless. So selfless. Where is he? I don't know, but he's selfless. We know that. And my sources tell me that, once he endorsed her, that's over. That's a suicide to challenge Kamala. Just as it was suicide to challenge Biden. Suicide. CBS News tells us, by her sources, which are probably Kamala supporters or Nancy Pelosi. It's so predictable. This is why you people are hated. Because you're frauds, phonies, and buffoons. But she's not the only one. There's John King on CNN, the Constipated News Network. There's Johnny. What's Johnny think? Cut 18, go.
Kamala Harris was Joe Biden's border czar. Look how it went. Do you want her running the economy? Do you want her running national security? And then other issues about, San Francisco and the like. And look, let's just be honest about this. You can be certain that racism and sexism, if not directly from the Trump campaign, from other forces, are going to come flying into this campaign.
Yeah, that's really sad to hear that, but it's obviously true.
Excuse me? Racism and sexism are going to come flying into the campaign. You can be sure. It's obviously true. Who is that? Oh, Wolf Blitzer. Somebody woke him up. It's obviously going to be true. So they're already telling you. The media, they're going to use racism and sexism. They're going to use racism and sexism. Now, Tim Scott was running for president. They were the racists attacking Tim Scott. Sarah Palin was running for vice president. They were the misogynists attacking her. Sexism. By the way, that's a whole other story, Mark. So in other words, you can't criticize Kamala Harris. Why? Because of her race and her sex. It's that simple. Even though you're not supposed to mention her sex, think about her sex, identify her sex, doesn't matter. So now that's the defense. John King has told us, and he's been seconded by Wolf Blitzer, who sounds more and more every day like Joe Biden, to be quite frank about it. But there you are. So if you attack a candidate running for president who's never received a single vote as a presidential candidate, not a single delegate as a presidential candidate, if you criticize her, criticize this, try and get into the way of what's taking place, you're going to be a racist and a sexist. That's it. They've already told you. Oh. So they can shut down debate and defeat, they hope, Trump by limiting what he can actually say and do. And because Trump has made such inroads, honestly, in minority communities, they're going to pull out the race card. Look, this is what this party has done since the party was founded. It just depends on the era which race card it pulls out. It'll pull out a race card against blacks. It'll pull out a race card for blacks. It'll pull out a race card for whites. It'll pull out a race card against whites. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They'll be for Israel and the Jews when they think it helps them. Now they'll be for Hamas when they think it helps them in Michigan. And so Netanyahu flies in today, and he's not met by Biden, he's not met by Harris, and he's not met by Blinken. The prime minister of the only Jewish state. And yet I got to listen to this idiot Moskowitz from Congress and these other left-wing Democrat Jews. Oh, he's a moderate. I got to listen to the idiot governor of Pennsylvania. What's so special about it? All of a sudden, this guy Shapiro, oh, he's the best. He's the best. What the hell has he done? Nothing. No, you don't understand. This guy's good. They won't pick him. Trust me on that. They already have the would-be Jewish first person whose daughter hates Israel and has more kind things to say about Hamas. And this Nebish, her husband, his mouth was shut while Jewish kids on our college campuses were running for their lives. But don't worry. That's the kind of Jew the liberals like. That's the kind of Jew the Democrat Party likes and the media like. Let's stop fooling ourselves. There's certain Jews they like, certain blacks they like, certain Hispanics they like, certain women they like. They'll pull the cards out if in those individual categories they share their radical left ideology. Otherwise, they smear them. That's it. It's that simple. Donald Trump's Jewish grandchildren? Never heard of them. Jewish daughter? Never heard of her. Jewish son-in-law? Nope. They attack the son-in-law, Jared. They attack the daughter, Ivanka, attack them relentlessly. You never heard them talking about Ivanka. You know, they're going to use sexism and anti-Semitism. Have you ever heard them say that? No. Not once. Tim Scott's running. Have you ever heard them say, you know, they're going to use racism, I think? And Wolf, yeah, I'm afraid that's absolutely true. Not once did you hear them say that. Racism against Clarence Thomas. Oh, no. You can't say that. We have to dehumanize that man.
Mark Levin. You're listening to the best of Mark Levin.
So, Joe Biden was a great president, still is. So why don't they nominate him? No, I can't do that. Why? Well, we just can't. We're not going to tell you why. Oh. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Scarborough over at MSNBC. The Democrats didn't disenfranchise 14 million Democrat voters. No. What's wrong with you people? Cut 19, go.
And I will say...
Is he calling in? Hold on now. Sounds like he's calling in. What's with all these people? I will say... What is he doing? Is he have Joe Biden sitting on his lap, Mr. Producer? What's going on here? Their big shindig at the Rehoboth Beach Palace? Let's start from the top again, shall we? Cut 19, go.
And I will say the most telling thing about how positive this may be for the Democratic Party is the Republican response.
So stop. See, they can never say what's positive without attacking us. What's positive without attacking us? So it's all positive. Look, what's been going on? It's the Republicans who don't have their footing. It's the Republicans who don't know how to respond. And if they do respond, they're racist and they're sexist. We know this. They just don't know how to respond. Go ahead.
This morning, Newt Gingrich was going on Twitter talking about how this is a violation of democracy. It's shocking and stunning that they're delegitimizing the votes of 14,500,000 Democrats. You then, of course, have Mike Johnson going around saying that he's going to do everything he can to try to nullify this, despite the fact Democrats even had their convention yet. So he's standing on... Hold
on. That's the point. They didn't even wait for their convention, Joe. You're missing the entire point, aren't you? Is it intentional? Yes, I think it is. They haven't even had their convention yet, so let's all sit and wait. Wait for what? It's not a secret. It's a coronation. It's not a convention. This is like Xi with his convention, in which his delegates voted that he would be president for life. And he had removed the prior president, humiliated him, and moved him out. We see what's going down, Joe. You're participating in it. But you know, we saw Newt there, and we got Mike Johnson talking about who we haven't even had the convention yet. Exactly. Doesn't seem like an open convention. Or remember, they were talking about a mini primary. Yeah, we got to have a mini primary. Now, you know, when you have a primary, we have what's called voters. So it's not a mini primary of any kind. It's not a primary of any kind. It is tyranny. The ruling class of the media and the Democrat Party eliminated the primary. Just eliminated it. All these delegates are there because people voted for Joe Biden for president, not Harris. Oh, we haven't even had a convention yet here. We just heard Margaret Brennan at CBS confused, and she's a fraud and a phony and a fool, but nonetheless, we're not going to see a head-to-head challenger. That's what she said. Her sources tell her there is none. It would be political suicide. The only issue here is who will Kamala pick for her vice president. Here we have a person who never got a single vote for president, and she's going to pick a vice presidential nominee. Who will she pick? Go ahead with Joe Scarborough.
I've also had a good bit of reporting deep inside the Trump camp that this is the one thing that he feared. Donald Trump has always considered himself...
is this a joke deep inside the Trump camp, Joe Scarborough? This is the one thing he feared? You know, if you know Donald Trump, seriously, he doesn't fear anything, let alone another politician. He has no fear of this whatsoever. I can tell you that. He just doesn't. He doesn't fear this. And the idea that Joe Scarborough is going to tell us what's going on deep inside the Trump camp is ridiculous. But let's play along. Go ahead.
The ultimate disruptor. And for the first time, not just in his political life, but the first time in his media life,
this is the guy that's been calling him Hitler, Hitler, Hitler. This is the guy that's been dehumanizing him probably more than anybody else. The man was almost assassinated 9 days ago. Now he fears Kamala Harris. Let me ask you something, Mr. Producer. You're almost assassinated 9 days ago. You think he fears Kamala Harris? The man who gets up, puts his fist in the air, says fight, fight, fight. He fears Kamala Harris? What kind of stupid commentary is this? Oh, I forgot. It's MSNBC. Go ahead.
Life. The disruption is on the other side. And Donald
Trump,
ladies
and gentlemen, this is the man who's been a propagandist for the Democrat Party and Biden. Now he's continuing. The disruption, the chaos is on the Republican side. They don't know what to do. Was J.D. Vance a mistake? Now what do? They don't know how to run against her. And by the way, if they do, they will be called racists and sexists. We've got this cornered. We've got this figured out. We've boxed them in. Isn't it amazing how the Democrat Party itself didn't find her to be such a fantastic candidate in 2016? They went for the old white guy who had early set dementia. They didn't go for her. She was a woman back then, best I know. She was black back then, best I know. Ooh, she could appeal to young people and black people, but she didn't. She appealed to any people. She couldn't get out of the starting gate. But now, starting gate, she's already passed the finish line. Oh, yeah, and the Republicans are scared to death. Scared to death. They're the ones that know what the hell to do. We Democrats now, we are set. We got our candidate. No challengers, please. We don't do that anymore in our primaries, such as they are. In fact, we don't even do primaries anymore. Yeah. Now they don't know what to do, these Republicans. They have to respond, he goes on, to this shocking turn of events. They're not happy about it at all. I think this is why you're seeing a lot of Trump's acolytes in politics and the media coming out bitterly complaining about this. No, Joe. We're speaking the truth. We're observing. But the media won't report because the media are in on it, like you. The Democrat Party just stole the primary from the primary voters and handed, and wants to hand, and is saying they're going to hand, and saying they will defend anybody who challenges it, the nomination to Kamala Harris. And the Democrats may be giddy, but what Democrats are we actually talking about, America? Working people? People in black communities and Hispanic communities? Union members, non-union members, truckers, electricians, plumbers, they're giddy, they're happy about this? No, they're not. Nobody's consoling with them. Nobody. The same frauds and phonies and fools who pushed Joe Biden into the presidency, who wanted to push him into the presidency again, and but for the early staging of the debate, he'd be their nominee today. The same people who lied to you, who covered up, who've made a mockery of their own party and of the electoral system. They're at it again. They're telling you what everybody thinks. Next thing you know, they'll be telling you that they're defending democracy from us. And that this was a transparent process. When in fact, this is what fascist, Marxist, and Islamist regimes do. This sort of thing.
Mark Levin. The Great One makes your weekend even better. This is the best of Mark Levin.
I'd gone to Capitol Hill, joint session of Congress. Myself and family members. I want to thank Speaker Johnson for allowing us to watch what was a truly historic speech by a truly historic man, Benjamin Netanyahu. I've heard a lot of speeches. That has to be right there at the top. Absolutely fantastic. Kamala Harris boycotted it, as did, I would have to guess, a couple dozen Democrats, or actually more there than I thought would be. And there are two individuals in particular who never got out of their chairs, best as I could see, and barely clapped, even when it came to American hostages and so forth. Christopher Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, and I forget the gentleman's name from Georgia, the African-American senator. Those two sat together, Warnock, that's right, and never stood up. Even when Netanyahu was praising America, talking about 1776. Maybe they stood up when he praised Biden, but that was it. And for Kamala Harris to boycott a speech by a democratically elected prime minister in the middle of a hellhole is grotesque, but it's par for the course. Kamala Harris hates Israel. She embraces the anti-Semites in her party. She has never denounced Tlaib or Omar or AOC or any of the rest of them. Vice President of the United States. Does anybody remember her giving some great speech about anti-Semitism spreading across the country? She gave a speech to the Anti-Defamation League that's headed by an Obama hack, but only after she was condemned because one of these little Hitler youth on college campuses, on our college campus that is, was attacking Israel, and her response was, well, isn't that the great thing about democracy? You can speak, and this is how you're heard, your voice is heard. What a dunderhead. Is she the dumbest vice president in American history? And, of course, the media, as I told you, are creating a fiction. Oh, what a great prosecutor. No, she wasn't. She was lousy. She was awful. And I'll again ask the question. What cases did she personally prosecute as DA and Attorney General? She's this great prosecutor. She's so great, she talks about the convicted felon Trump. Yeah, if you reject the First Amendment, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th, it was a hell of a prosecution. What about the 1,500 people she threw into jail for smoking marijuana? You hear that, America? Now she's for legalizing marijuana. She's a chameleon. She wanted to be known as a progressive prosecutor and a hard-ass prosecutor. And right now, she wants you to think she's a hard-ass prosecutor. What about all those priests, the pedophilias, that she refused to charge, refused to investigate? We talked about this years and years ago, and I'll talk about it again. That's right. She turned a cold shoulder to these people who came forward. Their lawyers came forward. They couldn't even get a meeting with her. Then when they were bringing their own civil suits, they asked the Attorney General in her office, can you at least provide us with the documents and the information? They were rejected. Oh, she's a tough prosecutor, don't you know? And as Vice President of the United States, how many of these peaceful Palestinians who are talking about exterminating Jews and destroying our monuments, and not just them, obviously the Marxists among us, how many of them did she demand should be prosecuted? Not one. Did she demand that student visas be yanked and people who are here as guests of our country be deported? Not one. She's a fake, a fraud, and a phony, and an idiot. On top of all the, that's right, I said, ooh. You can't talk that way about a female African-American. She's half Jamaican and half Indian. I said that, a few years ago, Mr. Producer? And what did they do? They went back to like the 1840s to find out there was some lineage. Remember all that? What a joke. Oh, yes. No. And now, of course, J.D. Vance is a racist. Excuse me, isn't he married to a brown woman, an Indian? Yes, but that doesn't count. Oh, and did you hear him talk about, what is that phrase, Rich? Catwoman, or what is that phrase? I don't even know what he's talking about, do you? All I know is they're very upset about it. Now, they can go on and on calling Trump Hitler. Nobody was upset about that. The media didn't say cut it out. The clown senator from Arizona, the bald guy, Kelly, he's desperately desiring to be vice president. He's, this cat thing, it's just terrible. What about the Hitler thing? He was silent. The media were promoting it. Apparently, if you call somebody a cat woman, whatever that is, and I don't know, that's worse than calling somebody Hitler in the American media. Well then, what exactly is Kamala Harris's ideology? Well, we found a video that hasn't been played yet. Hat tip, Mr. Producer. That was on Twitter, a.k.a. X. Her ideology is that of a Marxist. How dare you call a woman a Marxist? How dare you call a person of color a Marxist? Why? I call white people who are men Marxists. Hold on. No, you don't understand. No, I guess I don't. Well, you listen yourselves. Here's a montage. Cut one, go.
It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution. Giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right? We are proud of the fact that equity is one of our guiding principles. Proud of the fact that we understand equality is important, but not everybody starts out on the same base. We see that people in our country are having an experience that is not equal. So when we talk about the work we are doing here together, it is recognizing that and being guided by this principle of what we must do in the spirit and in the interest of equity. To put equity firmly at the center of our economic policy. But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners.
So this is all Marxist problem. Equity. We got to end up in the same place. Can you imagine all of us ending up in the same place? No matter who you are, what you do, how hard you work, your education, what you develop, what kind of lifestyle you choose for yourself, everybody must end up in the same place. You know what that is? It's a gulag. It's a gulag. So she's spewing this Marxist pablum. Marxist pablum. Equity. We all need to wind up in the same place, even though we all don't start in the same place. What kind of stupidity, dangerous, gravely dangerous, imbecilic propaganda is this? Then the media try to purge that Kamala Harris is Biden's border czar. The same media that lied to you about Mr. Negative 17 IQ in the Oval Office, on and on and on. He's sharp as can be. And you people who dare to show the clips, you people who cherry pick, you people, just because he gets confused from time to time doesn't mean he has dementia, doesn't mean he isn't the sharpest tack in the drawer. No. Then the debate, oops, we got to dump him. The cover is up. It's over. The biggest, most massive cover-up in American history. Broom the primary voters. Broom them out. Bring in Kamala. And may I say, the first, of course, Kamala wants a debate. She says Donald Trump is a coward. He's backing off. Well, of course, Donald Trump didn't commit to debating her, but nonetheless, she wants a debate. Now, let me ask you a question. No, she doesn't. She's a coward. Mark, what do you mean? Ladies and gentlemen, she's being handed the presidential nomination from the Democrats. if you don't start at the same place, you got to end up at the same place. Equity being practiced by the Democrats with Kamala Harris. They've made it impossible for anybody to debate her, challenge her at the Democrat Party convention. There's no debate. There's no discussion. There's a coronation of somebody who's never received a single vote for president from anybody. She doesn't want to debate at the convention. Now, all you guys on TV and radio, you can repeat that and sound really smart. Isn't that true, though, Mr. Producer? What debate? What debate? I challenge Donald Trump, and he's... Hey, you haven't even had a convention yet. You didn't run for president. Just because the Democrat Party's handing you a participation trophy doesn't mean all the rest of us have to fall in line. You're a loser. You're a loser. You're pathetic. I can't think of 3 things you did well as vice president. Oh, don't Google. Just off the top of your head. Anybody? Anybody? No, of course not. Kamala Harris. That's what I've been nicknaming her. Kamala Harris. Why? Cackling all the time. We need equity. Everybody should end up in the same place. There she is. Vice President of the United States wanting to be president, telling us we should all end up in the same place. So can I be vice president? Sure, if you run. She didn't run. She's gotten anointed. How do I get anointed? How do I get anointed without one single citizen, or non-citizen for that matter, voting for me for president to be the nominee? How do you do that? Well, first of all, you got to broom out all the people who did vote. Isn't this amazing? We're celebrating Stalinism on the Democrat Party side. They're all giddy. I watch their talking heads on TV. It's like you need a neck brace. You hurt your neck trying to follow these people. So Biden, he's our man. And then all of a sudden, Biden's got to go. Who's next? We're going to have a mini primary. What the hell is that? It's nothing. But then they scrap that. No, we can't have a debate. Can we, Kamala? No. She gets the nomination without a debate, without a challenge, while she's challenging Trump to a debate. She's an illegitimate candidate. She didn't get it fair and square. She got it from a marijuana smoke-filled room. That's all. But the media try to purge her record on the border. The border czar. Do you dare call her border czar? She wasn't a border czar any more than Biden had dementia. Wait a minute, he does. Oh, excuse us.
Mark Levin.
We're giving you nothing but the best of Mark Levin.
This is from October 13, 2020. Adam Credo, Washington Free Beacon. Democratic vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris's ties to a leading anti-Israel group, and I would argue a Hamas front group founded by Hamas. You might recall that's a terrorist organization, at least it was, before the Harris-Biden administration. Ties to a leading anti-Israel group are generating scrutiny among Jewish voters, a perennial swing state, particularly in Florida. Are they still? As California's Attorney General and then as U.S. Senator, Harris forged a relationship with that Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, one of the nation's top anti-Israel groups. Worse than that, I said they're a front group for Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. You don't like it over there, boys? Then engage me. See what happens. They've been advocates for boycotts of the Jewish state. CAIR advised Harris on community issues during her time in California politics. And she later offered the group her gratitude and admiration in a 2018 personal letter to the group. Harris's association with CAIR is drawing scrutiny. Is it really? As California's top cop, Harris partnered with local CAIR officials and relied on them to advise her about community matters. No wonder she was saying, let's stop using this term, radical Islamist terrorists. It's just very unbecoming. Why? Because she hangs out with them, in my humble opinion? Or at least people who support them? Or at least an organization that was founded by them? Maybe that's the kick. In 2015, Harris hosted CARE for an interfaith community event following a deadly terrorist attack in San Bernardino. 2016, as Harris ran for the Senate, CARE's Political Action Committee donated $1,750 to boost her campaign. CARE PAC has also donated to prominent anti-Israel anti-Semites like Ilhan Omar, my words, of course, Hussam Ayadush, Yabba Dabba Doo, Executive Director of CARE's LA office, praised Harris on 2015 for including the group in an interfaith meeting with law enforcement officials. Harris said, exemplified leadership by vowing to tackle Islamophobia at a time when the state's Jewish institutions were facing threats. Now, what the hell has Harris done to tackle anti-Semitism? What has she done? Vice President, did she knock on the door of Biden and say, hey, Joe, put down your ice cream and put your pants on? Oh, okay. What do you want? I want to take the lead. You know, my husband's Jewish. Oh, yeah, I mention it everywhere I go. My husband, the Nebish, the slouch over there. That guy, he's Jewish. He's my husband. I want to take the lead in fighting anti-Semitism. I'm a former prosecutor. Ooh, a very good prosecutor. I want to take the lead. Did she do that? No. Well, what did she do? Not a damn thing. And that's what she's good at. Don't you dare call her borders are. No. CARE has been at the forefront of anti-Israel activism since its creation in 1994, while the group touts itself as a civic and community outreach group. Antipathy towards Israel has been a CARE staple since the group was founded by several leaders of the Islamic Association of Palestine, a now defunct organization that was once described by the U.S. government as part of Hamas's propaganda apparatus. This, according to the Anti-Defamation League. CARE is also known for its involvement in a fundraising effort tied to the Muslim Brotherhood that sought to support the Hamas terror group. That case, known as the Holy Land Foundation trial, presented evidence that CARE and its founders sought to financially boost the U.S.-designated terror group Hamas, which continues to wage war on Israel. And she dares not to shut. This is why she boycotted Netanyahu. This is why she made the disgusting comments after Netanyahu's meeting after he left with the blood libels against the Jews. Not the truth about Hamas and terrorism. Not the truth about the mission of Iran, the Muslim Brotherhood, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the rest of them. No, it's the Jews and the Jewish state. And Netanyahu, if we could only get rid of Netanyahu, we'd have nirvana. CARE lobbied against legislation that would have increased security funding for Jewish day schools and other institutions threatened by anti-Semites. It also opposed a widely supported bill denouncing boycotts of the Jewish state, known as the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions Movement, BDS. Republican political operatives view Harris's work with CARE as an example of the Democrat Party's very public embrace of anti-Israel activities. Not Kamala. Her husband's Jewish. Did you know that? Well, so is Antony Blinken. Well, so is Bernard Sanders. Who's he? Oh, Bernie the Red. Oh, yeah. So is Thomas Friedman. Yeah, they're all anti-Israel. But don't worry, she's married to a Jewish husband, and that's hugely important. Not that Donald Trump's grandchildren are Jewish, not that his daughter converted to Orthodox Judaism, not that his son-in-law is Jewish. No, we don't care about any of that. Kamala's husband, the Nebish. May I call him Nebish, or is that on the don't say list? Senator Harris's long-standing relationship with an anti-Semitic group, and it's the worst of the worst. CARE is disturbing, said Steve Guest, the Republican National Committee's Rapid Response Director. Today's Democrat Party is under tremendous influence of anti-Semites like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Tell me, did your Jewish husband ever denounce them, Kamala? How about you, border czar, vice president, tough prosecutor? Did you ever denounce them? It's clear that in the Biden-Harris administration, anti-Semitic groups such as CARE will be running the show the same way Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib do the Democrat caucus. Well, that's true. And I might add, there was Rashida Tlaib, when Netanyahu was speaking, with her own little sign that said war criminal. Everybody ignored her. couple of Republicans went up and told her, you better put that down or your ass is going to be dragged out of here. You know that's illegal. Something to that effect. So even anti-Semite, Jew hater, Tlaib was in the audience. But the border czar, the vice president, she couldn't show up to hear Netanyahu. But she's gone to various events for CARE. She's spoken to them. Tell me, does Kamala Harris know the name of the 3 or 4 leaders of Hamas? Does she know the name of the leaders that Qatar, one of her favorite countries, has given safe haven to? Does she? Wow. Does she know the name of the leader of Hezbollah? How about the Houthis? No, and no. But Netanyahu, oh, that slips off her tongue like cat lady. Doesn't it, Mr. Producer? We've got more. But where does she stand on police? You know, you can figure out where Kamala stands on every single issue if you take the most radical extremist, anti-American, anti-citizen, anti-capitalism, anti-American history position. Those are all Kamala Harris's positions. Check this one out. Cut 7, go.
So, Chris, we have to reimagine safety and public
remember her with the reimagine. Oh, she's reimagining all the time. Go ahead.
You know, the status quo has been to determine and create policy around the idea that more police equals more safety. And that's just wrong. You know what creates greater safety? Funding our public schools so that currently 2/3 of our public school teachers don't have to come out of their own back pocket to pay for school supplies. What creates safety? Investing in the economic opportunities of communities, creating jobs. What creates safe and healthy communities? Making sure that all people have access to health care, mental health care, and that it is within their reach, meaning it is affordable. These are the things that create safe communities. And when in America today...
Equity. Hold on now. You forgot equity. Equity. We all need to wind up in the same place. Equity. Go ahead. As the total city have of their budget, 1/3 goes to policing. We all have to step back and ask, is that the smartest and best way to actually achieve safety? Through healthy communities, we have safe communities. Mumbling, rambling, incoherent, stupid as hell. That's our Kamala Harris. Oh, yes. It's what's between her ears. The rest of it doesn't matter, does it? Does it, Joy Reid? Here she is in June 2020 on MSLSD about the outdated and backwards way for policing. Cut 8, go.
And also I'll mention, and part of what we have to do here is also look at the militarization of police departments and the kind of money that is going to that. And we need to demilitarize police departments. So there's a lot.
We need to demilitarize police. What is this woman? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing this for a reason. So you have a nice, one compact explanation, exposition of who this person is. Not the drip of media propaganda. Next thing you know, they're going to tell you that Biden has dementia and he needs to go. Oh, they did? Oh, okay. And what's Kamala Harris's excuse? She doesn't have dementia, but she sounds like she does, doesn't she? She does to me. She sounds like she's at stage 6 of stage 7. May I say that, or is that on a list of unsayables? Oh, I'm sorry. Now, here we are. She also thinks outdated is, well, Homeland Security, ICE. Cops are outdated. Yes, too much money for cops, don't you know? But now, we were told by the New York Slimes and the rest of the reprobates. She's a tough on prosecutor, boy. Oh, she's tough. Law and order. She's going to run as the prosecutor against the convicted felon. Oh, yeah, that'll work. Cut 9, go.
Klan was what we would call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we call them a domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and force?
It was based on race and ethnicity.
And by the way, this is at a hearing. a hearing on the Border Patrol and cops. Go ahead.
Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between sworn
I'm talking about perception.
officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no.
Are you aware that there's a
that
perception?
puts ICE in the same category as the KKK? Is that what you're asking me?
No, I'm very specific about what I'm asking you. Are you aware of a perception that the way that the discretion...
I see no parallel.
I'm not finished.
I see none.
I'm not finished.
No, you are finished, and you're a moron, and you're a character assassin. That's what you are. That's what you are. Border czar. Don't call them illegal aliens. Are you aware of the perception of ICE being perceived as the KKK? The perception of ICE being perceived as the KKK. Do you know the vast majority of the men and women who work for ICE are minorities? Did you know that, America? Same with the Border Patrol. These are hard-working American citizens trying to do their job. This is the law. But she's a tough prosecutor, Mark. What the hell is wrong with you? Don't call her Catwoman. I didn't. I don't even know what the hell it is. But I'll make a deal. We'll ask JD, stop calling her Catwoman if you stop calling Trump Hitler. Deal? Deal, media?